welcome to the Real Knits podcast. This is the fourth video, I believe, in a series about my slow fashion journey that I've been doing for Remaking. So in this video, I want to talk about sort of what it's like for me at the moment, making things, remaking things, and even sort of how my shopping habits have changed. I will be referring to my notes a lot, and I also have this lovely wall of stuff as a prop. So let's talk about shopping first of all, because I think I can kind of get that out of the way. The number one thing that I think has changed in my shopping is that I am really raising my standards of what I'm willing to pay for. And I am looking more at buying things that are made in a way that is humane, that is worker friendly. Because as I learn how to make things, I appreciate the skill it takes to make them. So, you know, I think we think of certain types of labor as unskilled, and I think that we're usually wrong when we call things unskilled labor. It takes skill to do anything, and making clothes is no exception. I think that it's unfortunate that the labor of, say, a 15-year-old girl in Bangladesh is viewed as less valuable than the labor of a 38-year-old woman in the United States of America, but I am trying to combat that with my shopping habits. So I'm trying to look for companies that I think have a worker-friendly way of doing business first and foremost. And then secondly, you know, things that are good for the environment. So again, natural fibers. A couple of the pieces I have that I wanted to talk about are on this rack. So I will pull them out. So the first is this blouse, which is, I'm going to cover up the tag. This I got from one of those shops that is, you know, brands itself as kind of fair trade and whatever, and as very, you know, eco-friendly. And as far as I can tell, it's not a natural fiber, and I have no information available to me about the conditions under which it was made. So this is something I purchased and have since thought about I would never buy basically from this company again. And I think it's important to just like know that there is a lot of greenwashing out there, and there's also like instances where maybe something really is worker friendly or environmentally friendly, but they don't give you the information you need to make that informed choice. So just something to consider. As far as you know, purchases go, one company that I like a lot, and you've heard me say this before, is Zuri. They make basically the same dress over and over. They have a sleeveless version of it. So I guess they make two dresses, but they make basically a sleeved version and a sleeveless version of the same sort of A-line button down the front, high collar dress. And it is kind of universally flattering, no matter, you know, how tall or how short you are. It fits well. I think I really like that about it. And it comes in amazing colors, and it's all cotton. So this is something that is not going to shed microplastics when you wash it. And they also have a pretty, I would say, transparent manufacturing process. It seems like they're pretty transparent about who is designing and dyeing the fabric, who is making it, and sort of like what the value their employees get out of it. So I'm a fan anyway. Another one that I just got turned on to is Turn Black. And Aja Barber had mentioned this. This is a company based in India, and they make everything out of black cotton linen blend fabric. So it's natural fibers. You know, it isn't priced extremely high, but it is, you can tell by the pricing that, you know, they're not lying about the fact that they pay people well, and they will make a piece to your measurements. If they don't have, you know, like they have sizes listed on their website, but if you're like, oh, I'm actually more like, you know, these measurements, then they will just make it to your size. So I think each piece is made to order. And they have, you know, all kinds of great style. Yeah, I didn't mean to sort of promote particular brands, but I just, you know, I just wanted to say that, you know, when I'm shopping, I am trying to like learn as much as I can about a company And, you know, I'm willing to pay more if I can, if I feel like there's evidence that they have compensating workers fairly, that they are celebrating the skill that it takes to make something, if they are, you know, not just like the, you know, like the Zara guy who's just like making billions of dollars while garment workers struggle to keep up with production of cheap crap. I think it's possible to try to get close to ethical consumption even under capitalism. So editing Rhiannon here to add in that you should spend money the way that it makes sense for you and your budget and your lifestyle. I still buy jeans from Eddie Bauer and companies that probably are not the most ethical. I still occasionally buy other things when it makes sense to from other companies that are not doing everything perfectly. I think we all just need to do our best. So what I want to really like make the meat of this episode about though is like how I'm balancing out being a process knitter and also wanting to have particular products. This is kind of the main tension that I find, is that I'm very usually either process or product oriented depending on the piece. So like this shirt and pretty much everything I've sewn is coming from a place of product orientation. I just want that thing, you know, so I'm trying to build out my wardrobe and be really mindful of like, what do I need to put in my wardrobe, right? Like what is a, you know, do I need another blouse right now? Do I need another dress? Do I need pants? Like what is it that I need? And then either make or purchase that thing. I think that sewing for me is not nearly as fun as knitting because there's so much ironing and cutting and fiddly bits, you know, pinning and things, whereas with knitting, it's very portable. You can just take it with you. So knitting is always more about the process for me. I have had some knits that were very product oriented, and I'm trying to look right now for patterns that sit in that sweet spot where it's a fun process, and at the end of it, I have something that I really want to have in my wardrobe. So I want to talk about a few shawls here because I think it really demonstrates it. The first is this aperture lace shawl. If you know me, this is a process knit. I love to knit lace. I love the way eyelets look. I love just like the lightness and airiness of this. And you know, it was very asymmetrical, so that made it kind of fun. At one point, I think I was knitting like approximately 7 million stitches, but it's okay. It is knit on the bias too, so there's not, that means there just aren't as many as there could be. So yeah, you know, this bottom edge that's as wide as it got, which is a lot of lace to be doing, but I liked it. However, in terms of product, it would have been good if it was just like this much of a shawl, like, you know, if where my hands are were like the limits of it, but instead there's all this like extra stuff on either side, and I don't know how to wear this. Typically with shawls, I can kind of make a scarf out of it, but I feel like when I do that with this, I have fabric for days that I don't know what to do with, and then I have this weird, sad little thing that doesn't show off the beautiful lace panel. So yeah, process all the way. See if I can get it out. This is probably how I snagged it the first time. Just trying to wear it. So then there was this one, which was, I would say, product all the way. I'm not a big briocher. This was my first time doing 2-color brioche, and I picked like the hardest project. The top of the hearts was really difficult. I struggled with this one mightily, and I love it. I love how it feels. I love that it's so soft and squishy, but it was kind of not super fun to knit all the time, if I'm honest with myself. And, you know, it's pretty great colors though. So yeah, total product knit. Here's one that I thought would be a nice process because it's got a lot of repetition, but the way that I like used a color, I used scraps of yarn to make the color story of this, I guess. And it was really fun to make. I didn't expect I would use it as much as I do, but I use it all the time. So this is my botanic shawl. And then here are two shawls. One's kind of like a shawlette. Uh-oh. So this is one I thought would be all about the process. Again, asymmetrical on the bias, kind of triangular, and I didn't wear this for like the first 2 years after I made it, and then I started wearing it and I like it a lot. This is also a one that I did purely for, I meant it as a product actually. I thought, oh, I want this in my life, like I want to wear this. And I didn't realize what a fun process it would be to do, because you knit the lace panel at the same time as the other part. So you always have kind of something fun and different, and, you know, requires you to think a little on the go, but you also always have like stretches of easy peasy knitting, right? That's just garter stitch. So this one I have worn a lot in the last, what is it, 6 months since I finished it. And not even 6 months, I've just worn it a lot, and it's got big loose snag, and you know, you can tell it's well loved. So I think from these I've learned that I need to look for patterns more that offer me a bit of the process for a product that I want, because I think I have had knits that are you know, just like I chose it for either because I really want that thing, or because I would enjoy that process and not really thinking about like it being both, right? So I'm trying to find things that are both. And here's an example of how I'm making adjustments in that. So I'm currently knitting the Luné shawl by Moonstruck Knits. And I found pretty much immediately doing this star stitch pattern that I hate knitting star stitch flat. So I'm alternating star stitch and garter because I need this process to be more fun. I know this product will be something I use a lot, but like I need the process to be more pleasurable, and it's just, frankly, it's unpleasant to do star stitch flat with a rustic yarn. I'm just not liking it. So you know, I'm willing to make that change, and I don't think it will affect the product result. Let's think about, you know, how do I infuse that into my sewing then? Well, it's interesting because I feel like what I'm leaning towards is that I notice I love to make project bags, and that is sort of how I do my like process sewing, because I feel like there's just a lot of sewing and playing with color and playing with fabric and putting things together and not ironing and measuring so much, right? Like it doesn't really matter what size your project bag comes out as. So that's kind of like my fun play area. And then I have some quilt tops in progress, and I might just like farm out the actual quilting part because I don't think I love that. But I'm also going to start to try to do small quilted pieces where I hand quilt them and just see how I feel about that. I don't like machine quilting because I just have a regular sewing machine. It's really not ideal for it. You know, so that's something that I'm sort of like experimenting with. I also have planned to make myself a huipil, which is like a traditional garment from Mexico and Central America. You know, traditionally in Mexico, women would have this sort of like simple blouse, but with embroidery that would represent like the village they're from, or, you know, like, I think it was just sort of like a way of identifying like the family, your family of origin or something like that. I have to do more research, obviously, but I want to make myself one. I had one that was my grandma's when I was in high school, and I don't know where it ended up. And that has been really hard for me to realize that like, oh, that was a garment that had significance culturally. Nobody told me about that part. And I thought it was just like a shirt of hers. And so I think I didn't keep good tabs on it because I thought it was just a shirt and it didn't matter. So part of this is sort of like my little journey of like going back and reclaiming that, even though I can't because I have no idea. Maybe it's at one of my parents' house. Maybe it ended up in a donation pile. I have no idea, and I'm pretty sad about it. So I just want to like make myself something, and I'm going to be taking a course on traditional Mexican embroidery so that I can embroider it myself. So I think that's how I'm going to try to make a more fun process around just sort of the product of, you know, having an embroidered blouse. Yeah, I'm trying to, you know, just like find ways to make that more fun to do, right? Something that is maybe not like more fun, but just easier. So I think as you sew more and more, it gets easier and easier, as I'm basically creating almost my own pattern blocks. So I've made this blouse recently, and I know I've worn that like on a podcast, and I've got a second one on the go right now. I just have to like finish the collar, but I've basically just taken what was a pattern and made my own pattern blocks. And at this point, what I'm using is the basic sleeve block, and I've adjusted the fit of this, and I'm using the collar and I'm using the sleeve, but I'm adjusting even the length of the sleeve. So I'm just modifying the crap out of a pattern to make things that will work for me. And once I have kind of, you know, once I got like my pattern figured out, I just went ahead and made this, and now I'm making this one, you know, and this one has slightly longer sleeves, but you know, it's just the repetition of doing the same thing over and over. As it becomes easier, it becomes more fun. This is a dress I made and wear all the time. Again, same pattern, heavily modified, because I've put in like side pockets, and I've shortened the length at least 6 inches, and I just made a second one of that. And I modified this even more this time by extending the length of the yoke in the back. So I think that becomes more like I'm reclaiming more of the process, I guess, and I'm making it easier on myself, which I guess makes it less onerous, which is not the same as more fun, but you know, close enough. Something else I've been experimenting with is dyeing. I have dyed some yarn. I have dyed some fabric, and I think I learned that I don't love dyeing enough to want to do it all the time, but I can definitely see myself dyeing a, you know, like yarn for a particular garment or something, because I just want a certain shade. If that, you know, yarn doesn't come in that specific shade, you know, the base I want, I could always take like an undyed skein and combine that in. So I think I will continue to do that, and you know, other things that are sort of peripheral to the knitting and making, like the embroidery, which is like, yeah, it's a sewn garment, but I'm gonna embroider on it. Or I've seen some really cute quilt jackets. I don't love all of the ones I've seen, but one in particular is that somebody in my group of sewing knitting friends online, I guess, Kate has made this really beautiful jacket that has like a it's like the quilt star kind of shape. If you can envision, it has a square center, and then it has those like 2 star points off of each of those 4 sides. Made a really beautiful quilted jacket with that, and I thought it was so cool. And so it was like a quilted element on an overall solid colored garment. You know, and I think that my goal is just to sort of integrate the all of these kind of like process and product making things more thoroughly in the future. I will just talk about a couple more future goals I have. So one is to think about remaking things. So I've mentioned before in other videos that this is a top I made with a pattern, and I actually remade it recently because I didn't like the fit of it. So I was fortunate in that what I didn't like was that it was too big, so I could actually remake it. I think if I had not been successful, I could have probably got a tank top out of a, kind of t-shirt style blouse. So, I'm trying to think about how to like, not just like make, if the make doesn't work out, what could I do to save it or repurpose it? Because I definitely have some sweaters where like the neckline is just too loose, and I keep saying I'm gonna get to it, and I probably will someday, but just not yet. I want to like pull the neckline in on them, or just find ways to like still get use out of that thing, and I think like it's rare that I would make something and then be like, I absolutely hate it, there's no saving it, goodbye. So just trying to like find ways to like keep things in my wardrobe longer is important, and not to have wasted my effort. I've thought about, so I made these pants that have they have a high waist, they have big generous pockets on the front, and I made them kind of too big, so I'm thinking about maybe turning this into a skirt. We'll see. I mean, I might just keep wearing them anyway, and they just will be my kind of oversized pants. But I'm definitely learning from this, and I'm making a second pair with the same pattern and just going down a size to see how that works. Yeah, I want to get better at remaking things. I want to get better at making pants. I want to learn new skills too. I've thought about crochet, embroidery, spinning, leatherworking. What else? Gosh, yeah, like hand quilting. I've thought about all of these things. Obviously I think embroidery is the next on my list. And then after that, I think probably crochet. I don't know if spinning will ever be, if I want to be like a full-time spinner, because I feel like people start spinning and then it's a slippery slope and then they're never knitting anymore. I feel like leatherworking would be a really nice like change of pace kind of, but it would have for me limited applications because I don't need like a lot of leather stuff in my life. I also want to get better at like the budgeting part of it, where it's like instead of buying something right when I need it, like just to kind of have like money that I regularly put aside for whatever. Because I think it's like budgeting can be like a form of planning, and planning brings awareness for me. So just like knowing that like I'm gonna need new hiking boots next year or whatever, and then like saving up for them so that I have time to do the research and to know what do I want to buy, where can I get it, can I get it locally, all of that, instead of just like going to REI at the last minute and having to choose whatever's there. Like I think and I think buying things in the off season is often really cost effective, or if you have a very common shoe size like me, you might need to get in and buy it as soon as it comes out, because I find that being a very average size, clothing size and shoe size, I struggle a lot to find things in my size because it's all sold out. Everything that's left is always too big or too small by the time I get there. And so I think just having more of like that planning element would be great. And I think, also like being more okay with having a lot of stuff, because I have sort of like two sides of my personality. One is a minimalist who wants to have just what I need, and then one is sort of like maybe more practical or maximalist, where it's like okay, but there are like 18 micro seasons in the climate where you live. So you have to have, you know, like not just one raincoat. You need like, it's cold and rainy, or it's a little chilly and it's rainy, or it's hot and rainy. You know, you have to have like multiple versions of a thing. So trying to, you know, balance all that out and be like wise and be looking ahead, and incorporating more planning into my making and remaking process would be really great. I'm also aware that there are seasons of my life where, for whatever reason, my forearm and my elbow start hurting, maybe my wrist hurts, maybe my hand cramps, and I need to like stop knitting for a while. So you know, being able to like put that on pause, or to be like, I'm only gonna knit 20 minutes a day or whatever, I think is really critical. And it can be so hard because everybody's knitting and everyone's always making something beautiful. But hey ho, you know, you do what you gotta do. So I hope that that wasn't like too incoherent. I feel like I had a lot of sort of unconnected thoughts that I sort of bundled into this video in particular. Just wanted to sort of present it all as like, you know, here's where it's at. And, you know, it is definitely a journey. It is definitely not linear. It is, you know, it involves many different things. And, you know, I am working on trying to, you know, have some cohesion in how I do things and how I approach things, and also, you know, make sure it stays fun. So this is already longer than I want it to be, so I'm signing off. All right, bye.